Good evening. It's 6:30. I'll call our meeting to order. Welcome to the board meeting for the Pasco School District Board of Directors. Just for your information, earlier today we had a boundary process update as our study session. So there will be more information coming on that. Some community meetings, so be aware of that. I think they're happening the last week of this month, so just for your information. We will begin our meeting tonight with a flag salute. So we got Principal Jaime Morales here from McClintock STEM Elementary School.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. I've got some wonderful 6th grade McClintock students here. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves and what they're doing, but they are part of our student council and very involved in the leadership of our building. And a lot of the activities that were put together in the last month around Bully Prevention Month that we celebrate at McClintock, and then with our upcoming what we call Thankful Thursday coming up here on the 15th, where it's a no complaining day. They're part of the council, helped develop that, so I promise that I won't complain that day either. But I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and lead us in the pledge tonight.
Hi, my name is Maya Navahar, and I'm in Marimba and Student Council.
Hi, my name is Kira Burney, and I am in Student Council and Orchestra.
Hi, my name is Rio Gomez, and I am in Band, Student Council, and Marimba.
Hi, my name is Mila Johnson, and I am in Student Council and Choir.
Hi, my name is Bella Parsons, and I'm in Student Council and Marimba. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Principal Morales, and thank you, students, for coming and leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. We've got a little token of appreciation for you from our student board representatives. So we'll get a quick picture here.
President Christensen, if I could ask the students' parents to stand so we can just do a quick acknowledgement for their support to have such wonderful kids at our school.
Absolutely. Please. So thank you, parents, for bringing your students and sharing their information with us tonight. Looks like we've got some leaders and some musicians with us, so appreciate you coming, students and parents, and leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So could we get a roll call, please? Present.
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 All right, thank you. Agenda item 4, agenda review.
So there are no additions or changes. However, we will be requesting an executive session under 4231.10(1)G for personnel.
All right, thank you. So now we have the special recognition part of our board meeting. Mr. Shane Ettinger.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. November 12th through the 16th is designated as School Psychology Awareness Week throughout the country to highlight the important work that school psychologists do to help all students thrive. School psychologists apply expertise in mental health, learning, and behavior to help students succeed academically, socially, behaviorally, and emotionally. By providing direct support and interventions to students, such as individualized learning and behavioral assessments to identify students' strengths and needs, academic and behavioral interventions, counseling, and social skills training, school psychologists are an integral part of our students' success. School psychologists also consult with teachers, families, and other educators to improve support strategies and school-wide practices and policies. We are honored to celebrate and acknowledge the excellence and dedication that our school psychologists provide for both the students and staff of Pasco School District. I'd now like to share the names of these individuals and the schools where they work. And those of you who have joined us this evening, please come forward to receive a small token of appreciation, and of course, we'll take a photo. Jeanette Brumbaugh is from Chiawana High School. Alita Fernandez works at Ochoa Middle School and Twain Elementary. Dwayne Franks at McLaughlin Middle School. Laura Fritz at Captain Gray and Twain Elementaries. Pedro Gonzalez at Robinson and Whittier Elementaries. Leland Graham at Chiawana High School and Twain Elementary. Darren Hansen at Curie Elementary and Emerson Elementary. Don Heineke at Livingston Elementary. Valerie Heron at Chess and Markham Elementaries. Sandra Henry at Frost and McGee Elementaries. Stella Leatham at Pasco High. Jean Lemon at Franklin Elementary. Lori Lucero at McLaughlin Middle School and Pasco High School. Gloria Matz at McClintock Elementary. Lori Olberding at Angelo Elementary. Courtney Pilatos at Longfellow Elementary and Stevens Middle School. And Aaron Ransdell at the Early Learning Center. So if you're here tonight, please come forward. We want to recognize you and thank you to all of our school psychologists for making a positive difference in the lives of Pasco students.
So thank you for coming and being recognized tonight. I think as we can see, the school psychologists are going to play a bigger and bigger role in our education system. So we appreciate the work you do and your colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate you coming for this and representing your fellow psychologists.
Okay. So agenda item 7, approval of minutes. If we could get a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2018.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the regular meeting minutes for October 23rd, 2018. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Nays? Motion carries. All right, so we have the consent agenda. We have personnel, warrants, overnight student travel, student board representatives to attend the Washington State School Directors Association Annual Conference in Spokane. Approval of the bus lease program, resolution number 963, certification of the 2019 excess property taxes, 2018-19 salary schedules, long-term lease agreement with Clearwire, resolution 964, district authorized agents for the new Columbia River Elementary, Stevens New and Lou replacement, and the new middle school number 4. Resolution 965, district authorized agents for the new Three Rivers Elementary. 2018 through 2020 contract with the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 280, representing maintenance and custodial employees. Overnight and out-of-state student travel for Chiawana High School FCCLA Club students to attend a Family and Career Community Leaders Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. And finally, overnight student travel for Chiawana High School to attend the Chamber and Jazz Choir viewing in Spokane. Could we get a motion for the consent
Mr. President,
agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, can we get a roll call, please? Yes.
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 All right. The consent agenda is approved. All right, so I'm going to have to back up a little bit. I got ahead of myself. We skipped right over audience comments. That's why we have a trusty secretary here with us. So at this time, we will open it up for audience comments. Anybody wishing to speak to the board, please come to the microphone, tell us your name and your affiliation with the school district. And
good evening, school board. My name is Pat Zuniga.
Just a sec, let me finish my spiel.
Sorry.
Thanks, Mr. Zuniga. Appreciate you coming. Just as a reminder, we have 2 minutes. We'll allow you 2 minutes. Ms. Thornton has the yellow card and the red card. Yellow card means you have 30 seconds left. Red card, if you could finish your thought.
Good evening, school board. My name is Pat Zuniga. I was recently on the school naming committee for elementary number 16 and number 17. I'm also a teacher at Stevens Middle School. I prepared for you a report that reflects my experience through the school naming process, based on what you guys discussed here, that the names that were submitted were unexciting. And I took exception to that as an educator, but also as a member of that committee, and thought if you find them unexcitable and others express disagreement, my colleagues and some of your constituents, perhaps I can help to motivate discussion or activate discussion about the school naming process. So I prepared for you a report that I submitted to Superintendent Whitney. I encourage you to read it over. It was completely unsolicited. I did it on my own free time. I am also have my master's in science and education from the University of Kansas, and part of that included culture and cultural transmission, based somewhat or largely on implicit messages that are sent to children by us that may include the name of facilities. So again, I encourage you to read that report. It's an overview with data analysis. It's supported by research, and it includes my narrative. Thank you for your time, and if you do have questions, Ms. Whitney knows how to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zuniga. And thank you for your service on that committee. And so we will get that report, right? You have that, Ms. Whitney?
Yes, so Mr. Zuniga, he prepared a 28-page report that's fully annotated, and it's a very comprehensive analysis of the process. So I'll have Jenny scan it and make sure that each of the board members has a copy for their review. I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Zuniga for your effort around and sophistication by which you prepared this report, so thank you.
And thank you for coming tonight to the board meeting. Anybody else want to make any comments during our public comment portion? Final call. All right, so public comment is closed, and now we'll move to action items. We have no action items tonight, so we will go straight to reports. First, we have a first reading of Board Policy 4211. And looks like Policy 4330 as well. 4221, sorry, and 4330. So, Ms. Sarah Thornton.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. It has been a while since I've been in front of you for policy first readings. I'm going to scan down here and pull up the documents for you. All right, so the first policy is a simple change to policy 4221, which is our Title I parent and family engagement policy. The, whoops, wrong one. The proposal here, and I apologize that it is, that it's not reflected on the document in front of you. The proposal here would be to change the title from Title I Parent and Family Engagement, to Title I Parent and Family Involvement, which is consistent with WASDA model policy and the Every Student Succeeds Act. So this is a policy that we have in place as a condition of our receipt of Title I funds, and we would make that change on the policy document that is presented to you in December. The second policy is to hopefully bring to conclusion our examination of the district's facilities use process. As you know, we went through a bit of an extended study on this particular policy and procedure, hearing from a variety of stakeholders who work within within the facilities management. You heard from building administrators, you heard from community partners. You also heard from district staff who oversee and manage this this process. And what we identified were several changes that could be made at the procedure level, ways that we can simplify the facilities reservation process and also align the fee schedule. I know Mr. Nunemaker has been working with neighboring districts to ensure that we have common fee schedules and common practices around that. Primarily, the issues for the changes to the board policy had to do with setting facilities priority, and the recommendations that we're making around that is to add a section in the policy that specifically identifies, hold for just a second, I'm going to get you to the clean copy that's a lot easier to read. So what it does is it, first of all, it identifies that procedures established by the district would designate a central point of contact for scheduling. That was one piece of feedback that we got, especially from the community partners, that seemed important. And so, although that is a procedural issue, if we can call it out in the board policy as direction from the board to ensure that there is a central point of contact, we feel that that would allay that concern. The other thing we do here is establish priorities for formal partnership agreements, which had not previously been identified in board policy. And so we're saying that scheduled school and district-sponsored activities would retain first priority in use of school facilities, and that's not a change from what the current practice is. But it does acknowledge that the district may enter into formal partnership agreements, and that those formal partnership agreements would receive priority in scheduling use of district facilities. It would also include within the partnership agreements, it would also include the PTO, PTA groups, which work in support of our students at individual schools. So those are the most significant changes that were brought about by the process that we went through. As you can see from the red line version, there's a significant change to a lot of the language, and that this policy had not been updated since 1995. And so we are recommending the adoption of what is, in essence, the WASDA model language.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Thornton. Does anybody have any questions or comments on these policies? If not, we will see these on a future consent agenda, I believe is how we've typically done these.
Correct. So. First meeting, only meeting in December.
Okay. Very good. All right. Thank you. And looks like we have another report tonight on professional pipeline and mentoring.
So I just wanted to remind the board, I've lost track a little bit of the timeline, but recently you received a report from Sarah Thornton and Kelly York that was the first half of an update provided to you on the district annual objective around recruiting and retaining high-quality professionals. Sarah and Kelly's report really focused on the results of a Hanover organizational-wide survey and plans to tackle some of the more operational aspects of recruiting, onboarding, performing and administering payment or payroll and benefits. And we promised at that point that Mrs. Sparks would be here tonight to give you an in-depth update on our professional pipeline and mentoring. So she's here this evening to do that. I also wanted to remind the board that we promised, as kind of the third prong of that district annual objective, a data analysis around retention. That is not completed. Hanover Research is doing that for us. I believe I provided a timeline to you of after the holiday, probably later winter, potentially early spring, for that part of the kind of three-pronged approach to those reports. So this is the second of three, the last of which would be the data analysis piece. So thank you to Susan, who's going to present to you tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Whitney. So good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and school board members. It is my pleasure this evening to present to you an update on our professional pipeline and our mentoring program. The purpose of this report is to provide you with information on Pasco Teachers' professional pipeline, our recruiting efforts, and also an overview of the mentoring opportunities and staff development opportunities for our teachers. The Washington Legislature and the Professional Educator Standards Board has recognized that Washington State is indeed in a crisis regarding the teacher shortage and have been working to problem solve the issues that we are currently facing. In Pasco, we have certainly experienced enrollment growth, especially at our secondary level, and 4 years ago with the implementation of all-day kindergarten that greatly impacted our need for teachers. The local colleges have and continue to recognize that fewer and fewer students are enrolling in teacher preparation programs. And in addition to the listed factors, another challenge that we face is the number of teachers that are leaving the profession due to national retirement trends, or what is commonly called the baby boomers. All of these contribute to an estimated shortage of 3,500 certificated teachers just in Washington State alone. So the question is, what are we doing here in Pasco? Our goals this year are to be creative in establishing a robust professional teacher pipeline that is sustainable from year to year. We are fortunate that we do have well-established partnerships with local universities, and this year we've even seen an increase in universities outside of Washington State reaching out to us for placements. We are especially proud of our values-based recruiting and hiring procedures, which I will touch upon at the end of this presentation. One of our greatest resources for recruitment and professional pipeline is our partnership with local universities. And now with the availability of online teacher accreditation programs, individuals wishing to obtain their teaching credentials have options. Last year, we had 52 teachers that completed their student teaching in classrooms across the district, and another 35 that did a practicum experience. Many of those candidates were hired and are now teaching Pasco students. When I met with WG's Community Relations Outreach Coordinator, Michael Brown, he shared that Pasco is one of the most requested districts for placements. Currently, we have 32 student teachers that are completing their student teaching this semester and another 30 that are doing their practicum experience. We already have a list of student teachers that need to be placed for student teaching in next semester as well. Heritage, Washington State University, and Western Governors University all offer alternative route programs that focus on helping paraprofessionals and career changers use their experiences and their education towards obtaining a bachelor's degree with an endorsement in either special education or ELL. These programs tend to be shorter, more convenient, and also more affordable. There are 4 alternative route programs available, and we currently have several candidates that are participating in each of these options. All of these programs allow candidates to receive credit for prior learning, work experience, and obtain an elementary education BA. Pasco was fortunate enough to be awarded $50,000 this year to begin working on the Bilingual Educator Initiative as part of a consortium with Highlines and Quincy school districts. The goal of this grant is to recruit, prepare, and to mentor our students to help them prepare to become future Pasco teachers. Many of our families do not realize that their children can stay at home while earning a teaching degree and become a teacher right here in the Tri-Cities. We are currently working with staff at Captain Gray, Stevens, and Pasco High School to implement classes, clubs, and activities that would pique an interest in teaching. We're exploring field trips to universities, student career fairs, and student-to-student mentoring. We realize that this will take years before we see the fruits of our labor, but if we can encourage our own Pasco students to become educators right here at home, it will be a celebration for our families and for our students as well. Our plan for this year is to again take advantage of the career fairs that are held in Washington and to continue our focused efforts on recruiting our student teachers who are finishing up. We have some that will be finishing up in December, and we have planned a candidate day for December 19th, and we will also conduct another one in the spring. Additionally, we are looking at attending state conferences that have a bilingual focus so that we can recruit additional bilingual teachers. So, once we have hired all of these amazing teachers, it's important that we have support for them through mentoring and professional development. As a district, we have always valued the importance of mentoring our new teachers, and the program that we currently have in place was created in collaboration with the Pasco Association of Education, or our PAE. Pasco has been the recipient of the Beginning Educator Support Team, or BEST grant, for the past 3 years, and it has helped to support our programs that support our new teachers. The allocation is based on the number of first and second year teachers that we have. Last year we had 172. This year we have 147 first and second year teachers, and 68 of those teachers are first year teachers. We have 3 new teacher mentors, or consulting peer educators. We have a couple of them here this evening, Lee Delamora and Amanda Russell. Wave your hand, Amanda, also. And missing is Becky Schlegel. They support our new teachers across the district. The teachers also spend days with our mentors, and during August, they received TPEP training along with the day that they spent with training with our mentor teachers. We also use the grant to pay for substitute costs so that our new teachers can go out and visit classrooms of veteran teachers. In addition, we cover the registration costs for them to attend classes at ESD. And for example, we have 19 of our new teachers that are attending a class called Tools That Work, and that's where our mentors just came from. They were attending that class with our new teachers. This year, our August new teacher training was revamped, and we invited 20 experienced teachers to be a part of the training. They created a plethora of stations to help new teachers prepare for the first day and the first week of school. Some of the stations included how to physically set up your classroom, how to have a successful classroom management system, and some ideas for creating meaningful relationships with students. There was a happy buzz in the room, and we received excellent feedback from both the experienced and the new teachers. And our plan is to build on this for next year. In addition to the August trainings, our mentors conduct monthly trainings on what we call just right topics for the time of the year. So in that previous slide where I mentioned just right topics, this is a graph that we use to help us determine those topics. This graph shows the phases of a new teacher. We are often told that it's not just new teachers that experience these phases, but veteran teachers and administrators as well. You might be experiencing it also. I'm just saying. Our new teachers begin the year with excitement and anticipation of a new job and having their own classroom. And around now, November and December, that's when that disillusionment sets in. And that's why it's important for us to support them and encourage them through this phase. Our training in December will focus on mindset and self-care, because by then they are exhausted and ready for the winter break. In 2011, the Pasco School District moved toward a values-based selection process for hiring teachers. Building and district administrators developed a profile of what we call the perfect Pasco teacher. We moved away from individual administrators hiring teachers for their buildings to hiring teachers for the entire district. Administrators interview together, and they hire teachers who have a heart for Pasco students and who demonstrate the core values of passion and care and dedication that our students deserve and need. Our goal this year is to continue to focus on hiring the most qualified teachers who have open hearts and open minds and open arms for Pasco students. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to share. If you have any questions, I will entertain them at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Sparks, for coming and sharing that information with us. So board members, does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yes, thank you so much. Could you expand a little bit on this high school mentoring for the bilingual educator grant, how that's being carried out? How are the students being made aware of that? Is this a class that they sign up for one trimester? Like and what has been the reception so far of that?
Absolutely. So at both Pasco High and Chiawana, we have what we call teacher academy classes. So we've had those for years. When we applied for the grant, we started this process a couple of years ago, and we were encouraged because this was a grant that is focused on recruiting bilingual teachers. So what we have done at Pasco High is working with Omar Escalar. He has developed with his team what they are calling a leadership class. So typically your leadership class, you know, anyone can be in the leadership, but they're focusing on a new leadership class that focuses on newcomers and our bilingual students. So we're going to look at that group of students, and hopefully as ninth graders, then they can take the leadership class as sophomores, and then they can go into the teacher academy, which begins in 11th grade, and then in 12th grade is when they start going out to mentor students in the elementary and the middle school. So currently, those students who are in the teacher academy in the spring will start going down to they go to Emerson, so that they try to go to schools that are close to them. They can walk over to Emerson, and they do tutoring with the students. At Chiawana, those students have typically gone down to Livingston to help tutor and serve in the classrooms with those teachers. So our goal this year is to really let parents know that these are the opportunities that we have in place for our students. We're trying to recruit, we're trying to build materials, so we're just on the building level of this. We hope to continue to receive the grant so that we can continue the work.
Yeah, I think that's exciting. You know, one of the things that we've been discussing as a board and district is expanding dual language. There's a very strong interest in that in our community, and one of the biggest concerns from administrators I've talked to over the last couple of years is that actually their biggest fear is that we just didn't have enough teachers to do it, enough qualified teachers that would be able to teach all these additional dual language classes. So this is obviously going to help that. And I would imagine that the Washington State shortage of 3,500, whatever it will dramatically decrease considering the increased funding that the state's provided for teachers in our state, especially if you compare to other states. So I imagine that that's going to improve dramatically over the next couple of years.
Yes, I agree. I think what's exciting, when we visited Burlington, who also has a similar program, what the problem that they had is that the students don't want to come back to Burlington to teach. And I think we are very fortunate in Pasco is that our students want to live in our community. So I think that's a great advantage for us. Yeah.
I've got a question on the career changers, whether it's somebody from outside education or somebody who's a paraeducator. So I've seen some paraeducators who have moved up. Do we have many coming from outside education to, bringing their experience into education? Do we have many of those?
We typically have more teachers, so teachers who want to be, so we have individuals who have, say, a degree in criminal justice, who, as a career changer, decide, well, I want to be a teacher. Typically not paraprofessionals, but in the programs, there are 4 different cohorts. And so in cohort 4, you can have a BA in a different degree and be a part of a program and receive your teaching degree.
I'm just wondering, so I think there's a lot of people out there that have some very interesting experience that are dynamic people that would be excellent teachers. What I'm wondering is, how do we recruit them? And as far as the pay and benefits, do we have a system to where if they've spent 20 years in another career and want to come and teach, do they have to start over at the first year teacher salary and benefits? Have we looked at that? Has that been an issue?
The salary schedule is, they do receive credit, so if they have so many clock hours or so many credits, when they come in with a degree, they're placed on the salary schedule based on the number of credits that they have. So, and you know what, an interesting fact, you bring that up. We have a teacher currently at Stevens. She started for us last year in, I believe, January. She was this humongous scientist out at the area, PNL, fabulous teacher. But I spoke to her a couple weeks ago, loves being a teacher in Pasco School District, does not regret leaving the area. So I think there is a wealth out there. If we just need to start recruiting, I think that's a great idea. We can go out there and steal some of the employees from Battelle and PNL.
The same is true for a couple of teachers from some local or regional higher ed organizations too. I know that one at Stevens and one at New Horizons, who both came from higher ed and who are in our classrooms teaching for a variety of different reasons, and absolutely love it as well. Yeah. We can get you details, though. I'm not sure if we fully answered your question about the way the salary schedule works, and I'm kind of trying to catch Sarah's eye. Some of those rules and things have changed too, so we'll get you a more definitive answer to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I just think that there's people, I mean, teacher salaries have gone up, and that's a good thing. That should attract more teachers and hopefully make it more attractive to people who may be not in teaching, but who would be good teachers and maybe looking for a career change. But we have to be able to, we have to be able to make it worth their time to do that. So I'm just curious on that information, if we've got statistics along those lines of people who have crossed over or are working on crossed over.
Okay.
Change their career and into teaching. But.
Absolutely, we can get that for you. Okay.
Any other board member comments? All right, so is there anybody in the audience tonight who wants to speak to this professional pipeline or mentoring, or even our board policies that we discussed about parent involvement or school use? Okay. Seeing no takers. Thank you, Mrs. Sparks. So it looks like we don't have anything on our extended study / discussion. For those of you who don't know, we will be spending the next 3 days, or 3 or 4 days actually. Starts tomorrow for the early birds, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is our WASDA conference, annual conference in Spokane. So if this board meeting is a little quick tonight, we'll be making up for it tomorrow and the next couple of days. So future agenda items.
So just to remind the board and the community that on November 27th, there will be no regular business meeting. In the place of the regular business meeting, there will be a board retreat that will start at 4:30. It's scheduled to go through 7:30. This was a commitment that the board made, I believe, 2 years ago, that the board meeting immediately following the WASDA conference would be dedicated to you processing through the things that you learned and giving district staff direction on any potential guidance that you felt like we needed from that conference. So it's a way to really take a conference from sitting and learning to implementation of best practice. So that will occur on the 27th. Again, no regularly scheduled business meeting. However, it will be replaced by at least a 3-hour study session starting at 4:30. Then we, as Ms. Thornton mentioned, we only have one board meeting in December. We have scheduled another boundary update, so it'll be a continuation of the one you had tonight with some broader updates from some community work that's scheduled to be done between now and then. Our student board representatives at that meeting in December will give their WASDA report, so our student board members will attend WASDA and they'll report back to the board about their learning during that meeting. You'll also have a long-term facilities management planning update from Dr. Reyes, and it's also the time of the year where you'll engage in board elections. board officer
Okay.
elections.
Something to look forward to. All right, so we'll go now to communications. Mr. Larriman, would you mind starting that for us, please?
It's been 3 weeks, I guess, since we last met, but had a great time taking my kids and my family to the annual gravel pit game. Attended the Early Learning Center dedication, which was a culmination of years of hard work by the district staff, by the community, by the board, and just a great cause for celebration, I think, for our entire community. And it was great to see the kids there singing and happy with the joy on their face. So that was an awesome experience. Visited Captain Gray Elementary, so thank you to Armando Castrillon and his staff for the welcome tour of the school, annual tour of the school. And right before I came in this evening, my 7th grade daughter's doing dance at McLaughlin, so I stopped by there and watched the dance team, and they must have had 70-ish girls out there doing dance and enjoying stuff, learning new things. And something that I thought was cool is I watched the first half of that 7th grade boys basketball team, but something that was kind of touching and cool at halftime was all of the team sat down, and they could be off on the side, or I guess you don't go to the locker room in 7th grade, but the coach could have been talking, but he had his team go sit down and watch the girls perform, because the girls are watching the boys play basketball. So just support back and forth between students is a great thing to see, and just little things like that I think help set the culture and show respect to your fellow classmates and your fellow students. So that was a great thing to see.
The Early Learning Center program was really great. I mean, it was there was quite a few people there, and the kids were really great. They were having a great time, and it was really great to see them perform. I did attend the Veterans Program at Livingston. It's always one of my favorite programs of the year. They do a great job at Livingston with their Veterans Program. And honoring the veterans, there must have been 30 veterans there that they honored. And so I want to thank them for that presentation.
Thank you. I wanted to make a connection between two kind of separate experiences in our district the last couple of weeks. So I attended 2 different math nights, one at Captain Gray and one at Rowena Chess. At Captain Gray, I actually shared how I use math in my profession every day, and so that was exciting to talk about and meet with the students, and had little things for them to do, and it was exciting to share how important math is. Then I also attended the Edwin Markham's Fall Festival, and so these school events, community events, are just so important to our students and families, and really develop this connection with our neighborhoods and our school community and families and teachers and staff. And as most people probably have seen in the media, we had 2 teachers that passed away in the last couple of weeks, and it was really a tragic event. And I wanted to connect that because these types of events, help build these connections and relationships, and really help our students develop more those connections which are protective against the social isolation. And it's essentially an antidote to the social isolation, depression, and suicide that we're seeing in society. That's really an epidemic right now in our country. And so I'd like to encourage and continued increase in those types of activities where we really come together as school communities and neighborhoods and families and teachers and staff, and try to draw out that so that every student knows that they're part of something important, that they have the support they need, that we really hopefully start to address these issues of violence, depression, suicide that are plaguing our country. And I think we can make progress if we'll make that a focus of the importance of our schools in our community.
I forgot to mention the VIP at Markham. They did a great job out there, and we spent about 45 minutes in each classroom, and the kids did a great job, and it was math a presentation in each one of the classrooms, and the kids did a really great job. I was amazed what they were doing in the kinder classes. I mean, I think when I was in kinder, we were learning our ABCs, but they were actually doing math problems in the kinder. So it was exciting at Markham.
So last week, I was lucky enough to be a part of the new Pasco High mission and vision statement. And so what Pasco High came up with for their new mission statement was all belong, all learn, all in. And for the vision statement, it's cultivating a safe community for learners to foster a pride mindset, healthy relationships, and engaged community members who have a local and global impact, helping all find their inspiration, passion, and direction now and in the future.
This past week at Tijuana, we had a professional day where we had members of the community. We had over 80 members come from the community and speak about their profession, and it was very helpful to the students. And so I'd like to thank those community members for coming out and for their involvement. And also, Tijuana volleyball team is going to state this weekend, and it's the first time in our school's history, I believe. And their coach, Mr. Steach, is being inducted into the Washington Coaches Hall of Fame for having over 500 wins. So that's happening. So I'd like to congratulate Tim and his team on their accomplishments.
So I'd just like to say that I'm really excited for going to WASDA. It's going to be a first for me and, the girls over here. So as we've talked about, we're pretty excited to experience something a little different. Something that we're not excited is the cold. Just, the winter came really quickly, so that's going to be interesting. And the first trimester for school is almost over. It ends on Tuesday, and I believe for the 21st. Yeah, we get the trimester ends differently for each of us. So it's almost ending. We're almost done with school. Seniors. All we just need to do is catch up with our work, and it should be quick and easy, quick and painless. So I'm really, all in all, I'm really excited for, what this year is bringing and what we're going to be achieving.
I'll pass.
I was also able to attend the dedication, open house for the Early Learning Center. Ribbon cutting. All right. There we go, ribbon cutting. And Senator Maureen Walsh was there, and she has been a big advocate for us in getting that building built. She gave the address there, so that was really nice to be able to have her attend. Just a report, so we're coming up to legislative session. We've just went through elections. In our school district, we have two legislative districts, the 9th and the 16th. In the 9th, there were no changes. We still have Representative Schmick and Dye. In the 16th, we'll have Representative Jenkin again, who is a former school board member from Prosser. But we will have Skylar Rood as the other representative from the 16th district, and he is very familiar with our district as well. He has served as Maureen Walsh's legislative aide, both when she was in the House and then in the Senate. So we'll have some advocates still in Olympia this next year. So I also serve on the OSPI Technical Advisory Committee for School Facilities. And you may or may not know there was a task force of legislators put together to look at the way that schools are funded, primarily the match money that comes from the state. And we had a meeting last Friday, and there was some interesting ideas about funding schools. Some of them probably will be really helpful to us as a district. Some of them maybe not so helpful, but they recognize that formula that they use is a little dated and needs some updating. And so there are some things that are going to, that'll be coming up, and we'll keep you apprised of those as we learn more about them. I'm sure this is going to be a work in progress where there may be some iterations that we go through. But anyway, some changes are coming along those lines. And finally, just a reminder that for the next 3 days, we'll be in Spokane and hopefully learning lots of helpful and useful information for school directors. And as Ms. Whitney said, when we get back, our next meeting will be a retreat starting at 4:30, where we'll discuss some of the things that we've learned.
I'd like to take my communications opportunity to recognize Rebecca Schlegel. If you could wave your hand. Your colleagues were introduced during the board report, so I just wanted to make sure, Rebecca, that you were also acknowledged as one of our consulting peer educators. She was really a driving force behind the organization of our new teacher training this year that I had the opportunity to participate in, and it was by far, I say this all the time, that it was my favorite event. It really was. I mean, as a former practitioner, like, to think about being surrounded by 20 seasoned teachers as a first-year teacher that you now know that you can reach out to, and it was just a really incredible 2 days. So I just wanted to make sure that you as a board were introduced to Rebecca. I also wanted to take the opportunity just to, I know that we just had a 3-day holiday in acknowledgement and recognition of our veterans. I had the opportunity to attend a Veterans Day luncheon at New Horizons High School. I believe this was their 3rd annual. They very quietly invite our district office and district-wide veterans to have lunch at New Horizons, and they feed them this great feast, and the veterans can sit and you can hear them telling kind of stories of their service. And it's just a really lovely time to get to spend time with district office and district staff who are also veterans, and it was really great. So I appreciate New Horizons acknowledging veterans in that way, and all of our schools. They do such an amazing job with our Veterans Day celebrations. Mr. Walwork sent me a video of some of the music performances, and they just give you goosebumps and bring tears to an eye. I also saw on Facebook and Twitter that Franklin STEM Elementary did a video of their favorite veteran, and so I want to acknowledge my favorite veteran. My dad served this country as a Marine, and so I'm proud of him on Veterans Day and every day. I would like to also express my gratitude to those who have served and who are serving and have served. Again, I'm grateful on Veterans Day and every day for their service. I also wanted to acknowledge our high school staff for another phenomenal cross-country, state-level cross-country meet. It's an amazing event. If you've never been, mark your calendar, go next year. If you want to be inspired by this state's youth, that's the event to be at. It almost makes me want to take up running every year, and then I remember that I don't like it. So last year I even bought new shoes. I was going to do it and everything, but no, it didn't happen. I also wanted to comment on the gravel pit game. This is the 3rd year that I've attended as superintendent, and I speak of it every year. The students, both football teams, at the end of the game join each other in a big circle in the middle, in this phenomenal visual statement of unity that I just think is so impressive to this community. So not only, I just think it's worth acknowledging every year, that it's spontaneous, the kids go out and do it, no one's yelling for them to get over there, they all kind of huddle together, and it's just a beautiful moment. So I want to acknowledge that really as my favorite part of that game. It's truly really tremendous. And I also wanted to acknowledge Dr. Richardson-Minson. We had a very tragic loss of staff over the last couple weeks, and I wanted to, just an exclamation point on Dr. Richardson's sentiment about connections and relationships are so important. And I wanted to also say thank you to those who responded to the 4 buildings that were impacted by the loss of our colleagues. And the best in our staff comes out when our colleagues are in need, and I just want to thank our counselors, nurses, district staff, building leadership, fellow teacher colleagues who really spent time really consoling people who were grieving just a tragic loss. So it wasn't the first time that we've had to respond to a loss, but it was a different kind of loss for this organization, and I'm always just impressed with the way that our our colleagues pull together for one another. And then lastly, I just want to acknowledge the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. It is the holiday that Lance and I, my husband Lance and I, reserve as ours. And it's always a great opportunity for us to be reflective about the things in our life for which we are grateful. And this job in this district, my colleagues, our staff, this community, and you as a board are on my list of things that I am grateful for this year. And kind of depends, number 1, 2, or 3 is being the superintendent in Pasco. Depends on who I'm talking to. When I'm talking to my dad, it's being his daughter. If I'm talking to Lance, it's being a wife. And I'm sitting here, it's a close tie for number 1, I have to say. So thank you again for another year, and please do what fills you up over the Thanksgiving holiday and enjoy all of the best that the season has to offer.
Okay, so I think that concludes our meeting tonight. So we will, what do we call it, recess into executive session for personnel.
We're expecting it to take approximately 30 minutes.
Okay.